and welcome to another edition of Potluck, your everything and anything talk and entertainment TV show. My name is Laura Hartman, and I am your host. Today we have a returning guest who probably looks familiar, as she is very unforgettable. With me, I have somebody who is, beautiful, loves to smile. In fact, she is she loves to make people laugh and to smile, and she wears a lot of hats. She wears many, many hats.
That's
so,
true.
Welcome back to the show, Ritzya, the drama coach.
Thank you so much, Laura.
How are you?
I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to having you back too.
Thank you. And we kind of honed down what we wanted to talk about too.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
So, just to, for people that are just tuning in now that didn't get to catch Ritzya, give a brief description about yourself, because you present yourself as the drama coach, but yet you're not involved with drama, so to speak.
Okay, great question. So first, I started out in drama. I studied to be an actress. My degree is in theater, and then through all the different reinventions of my life, I kept realizing that I was using the drama skills.
Yes.
So it didn't matter. My mother said, "You better take typing in high school so you have something to fall back on." Thanks, Mom, because I wasn't a very good waitress. So one of my first jobs to supplement while I was auditioning to be an actress in New York City was typing at like Procter & Gamble and some of these big corporations in New York City. I was working as an office temp, so I was using my typing.
Right.
And then moving forward, at some point I found myself in outside sales, and I was using these drama skills to kind of show up, and I showed up as the corporate executive, right? I put on my acting kind of different skills, and then when I was in outside sales and all these different things that I did, I was using not only the communication skills and the skills of being on. They talk about nowadays being present. You ever hear that? Mindfulness and being present and all that stuff.
Sure.
This is another way of being present.
Okay.
Because everything that you step into is new. Every situation. The first time I came on this show, I was like, "Oh, I've never done this before." Oh.
Okay.
But I stepped in and I did it.
Sure.
So the acting skills have always served me. And then years later, when I started looking for ways that I could generate income again, because the typing worked really well.
Sure.
But I've also done professional organizing. I had a cookie business. I ran a food bank. We talked about all that stuff in the first show.
Right.
And there are common themes through each of these reinventions. So the drama and the ability to express myself and communicate. Then I started looking at other business professionals who weren't so good at it, had difficulty with it, and I thought maybe I can help them to be more dramatic when they're presenting.
Okay.
So I kept the imagery of drama, because really when I think about it, people go, "Oh, I've got enough drama in my life," or, "Oh, my daughter's a drama queen," and I'm like, that's not what we're talking about. You know that, and I know that. The imagery of drama, and we didn't even talk about this, but think about a sunrise.
Okay.
That's dramatic, right? Think about a baby being born. That's dramatic. Think about an atomic bomb exploding. That's dramatic. So drama has to do with making you feel something and being expressive and having that polish and that confidence. That's all that drama means. Yeah.
Okay. But that's been incorporated into what you're doing now, which is helping people with speeches and helping them present themselves.
Exactly.
And also with careers. So speaking of careers, let's get into the CNM.
I've been, it's a ministry and outreach of McLean Bible Church. They had no idea I was going to talk about this, but it's really apropos right now with unemployment and people being in transition, looking to get a job, to change careers, to move up.
Sure.
They're moving to the area. There are all kinds of situations why people need jobs. So McLean Bible Church every week has an outreach called Career Network Ministries.
Okay.
I don't know how long it's been going. Maybe 7 years, 8 years, 10 years.
Okay.
But they've had me in, this is the 6th time that I've come in to be their keynote speaker. So every Tuesday night, starting at 6:30, they have everything from resume writing, interviewing skills, job plan, like a marketing plan, LinkedIn training. They even have clothing. I told you about the men's and women's professional clothing for people that need interview wardrobe.
Oh, nice.
So it's all free. It's all free. So they also have a keynote speaker every week.
Okay.
And it's an hour and a half of either a subject matter expert, or in my case, somebody to motivate them, get them fired up, get them re-inspired to feel optimistic and stay on the path of being hopeful and looking for that next job.
And say the right things.
And say the right things.
Say the right things, yeah.
Yeah. When you're discouraged, when you feel pessimistic, when you've had a lot of rejection, it's hard to smile.
Yeah.
It's really hard to smile. So they bring me in to bring this message, and I do it in all different ways. So what I did this time was a little different. I had them do an exercise, and it started out with telling the story about a gentleman that I worked with 2 years ago. His name is Glenn. I met his wife at a networking event, and this is just an aside, and I'll circle back to why this is relevant. I met her at a networking event, and she had just opened a high-end lingerie and custom bustier shop.
Okay.
So custom fittings for women's undergarments, and also for mastectomy patients, and it's an all-encompassing thing. So to make women feel beautiful and give them the right foundation and all that kind of thing. So I met Steph, and we followed up, but then I got a call from Glenn. Glenn's her husband. Glenn was a project manager for a government contracting company. Actually works for the government. And he came to me and he said, Ritzya, I'm good at what I do, but I'm boring. And I'm getting overlooked for promotions because people that come in after me with less qualifications and less experience are getting promoted over me because they're more outgoing, because they're able to show more confidence and do all these things.
So this career management or network
ministries.
The career network ministries is not just for people that are just looking for jobs. It's also for promotions or even to help their careers whatever way.
Plus there's 50 volunteers. There's 150 people in transition, plus 50 volunteers. But Glenn was not at Career Network Ministries. The reason why I told this story is because when we met, I said, Glenn, you got to tell me something that you love. And he said, well, I love to work out. Now you got to picture this, guys. He's about 6'4", in his early 40s, strapping, handsome African-American guy, and he looked like he worked out. Yeah, and I said, okay, tell me about that. And he goes, well, I go to the gym a couple of times a week. I said, that's not it. Tell me something else that you love. And I'm presenting this to 150 people telling this story. And he goes, well, I like to bake. Yeah, right, that was the reaction. I said, bake? What do you mean bake? What do you like to bake? He goes, I like to bake dessert. And it comes out that he likes to bake pies. This is his specialty. I said, Glenn, how is baking a pie like this project that you're working on that you now have to report to the directors and the stakeholders and make it interesting and somehow step out, somehow set yourself apart?
Sure.
And he came up with all of these things about pie that was similar to this project.
Okay.
The ingredients, the crust, what flavor it was, how long it had to bake, what size it was, how many people it had to serve, and he had all of these like metaphors. So came the day to do the presentation, and it was on a Tuesday. I hadn't heard from him. On a Saturday morning, I finally couldn't stand it anymore. I texted him. I said, what happened? He said, didn't I tell you? I said, no. He said, didn't I send you the pictures? I said, no. And he texted me the pictures of a full pie and a piece cut out of the pie. What he did was, 2 days before the presentation, he sent out an email to all the stakeholders, say, don't forget the presentation, 9 o'clock, Tuesday morning, and come hungry. The next reminder he sent for the email, in the subject line it says, there's gonna be pie. And he literally served the pie, so you had the smell of the pie. He talked about his expertise as making pies relative to his project. He even had pie charts on his PowerPoints. You know, it's like he made it fun. Day after, pats on the back, great job. Next time you do a presentation, let us know. What are you going to bake next time? That's a way to take a risk. He demonstrated creativity, risk-taking, confidence. When he talked about pie, he was very confident because he loves it.
Right, got excited about it.
Okay. 2 years later, I called Glenn before this presentation. I said, give me an update, Glenn. People still remember the presentation. He did receive recognition, and his confidence was way, way, way higher. Okay, so I had this exercise in the room. I said, I want you to write down, I love blank. And then list the things you love. You know how we say, like, what are some things you love?
Well, I love animals.
I love animals. I love what else?
Making jewelry.
I love making jewelry. I love geology.
I love my family.
I love my family. I love chocolate ice cream. I love sushi. I love travel. I love books. People use the phrase all the time.
Sure.
I love this. I love that. So I had them write this down, and then they paired off. And just like you just said, I love this. I love that. I had one person say each thing slowly to the other person, and then the receiver, listener, observe.
Okay.
And after they'd done this for a few minutes, I got feedback from the group, and I said, okay, what happened? Well, when Laura said, I love chocolate ice cream, she kind of said it just plain and ordinary. And when she said this and that, but when she said, I love animals, I knew that she really loved that. I said, well, how did you know? And here's where it was consistent throughout the room. And I knew what the answer would be.
Right.
The eyes started sparkling and lighting up.
The face lights up.
The whole face lights up. The energy increases. The posture gets more leaning in. Gestures become more expressive. Facial expression. All of these things, plus you know what was present bigger than anything else. The smile.
The smile.
Of course. When they talked about something they truly loved, they smiled.
Yeah.
So this went back to Glenn. And this whole exercise of what do you really love? Find the things that you love within your job. Find those tasks that you really loved within your job. And then find what's the word I want? The attributes that you bring to the job that make those particular things fun. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Completely.
Okay. So, you want me to just keep going?
Yeah. No.
Okay. So I did this work myself because I've reinvented myself so many times. I thought I got to give them an example.
Right. Right.
So I looked at my own life and I looked at all of these different things that I'd done. Everything from the cocktail waitress, which I didn't mention earlier. That was a job. The cocktail waitress, working in an office, outside sales, having the cookie business,
singing,
singing, dancing, all of these different things. I examined them and I said, Laura, what is it that I'm doing consistently in every one of those reinventions?
Okay.
And I came up with 5. And because I like to create messages that have alliteration and patterns and structure to them, I thought of 5 words that all began with S so that I'd be able to remember them.
Okay.
That's a little speaking tip. If you want to remember something and you want your audience to remember it, organize it in a way that there's something
it's
to kind of
to
attach it to, right?
Right.
So that's another whole episode for me to come back and talk about. That's really good. Okay.
Okay.
So the first one was this standard of excellence. Everywhere I've gone, even coming here today, I'm like, well, next time I know I need to wear a different shirt. Next time, can we sit in a tall chair instead of a short chair? Because last time I felt like I slouched, and I want to stand up straight, and I want to look my best, and bring my very best to everything I've done.
Sure.
And what that does is it raises you to a level of people noticing, when Ritzya does something, she puts her very best forward. So I'm always looking at how I can do my very, very best. The second thing is a sense of adventure. Now, when you think about all the different things I've done, that's been consistent, because the first time you do something, you've never done it before, right?
Right.
I mean, I took off and I went to Israel. I quit my full-time job years ago, and I had an opportunity to go to Israel. Quit my job, sublet my townhouse. I just pulled the plug and went. It was an opportunity. It was one of those fall in my lap things. I didn't know anybody there. I just went. And I've done the same thing consistently each time. But when I do these things, remember, point number 1, I always do them with a standard of excellence.
Okay.
So you have the standard of excellence, that sense of adventure. The third thing is, has to be an S. Streamline. So wherever I go, I streamline things. Like when we were taking the chairs from upstairs, remember, instead of each of us walking up and down the full flight, I took the chairs and handed them down halfway to you.
Okay.
That saved us work. It saved us time. It saved us energy. So that's a very simple example just 15 minutes ago of something that I do everywhere I go. I look for ways to make it more efficient, more organized, people, processes, papers, all that stuff. Because remember, I had an organizing business?
Sure, sure.
That goes back to my earliest days when I was hanging up my doll clothes and putting my books in alphabetical order and organizing people's kitchens and their spices and everything else.
But what if a person is, like, if we were looking at career-wise, you're teaching this to your students.
Right.
What if somebody is not so organized or they have a hard time
They
getting
need
organized?
to find their attributes.
Okay.
These are mine.
Okay.
And I'll give you an example. That's a great question. Because my fourth attribute is seeing the best in people, always lifting their spirits and finding ways to encourage them and be a cheerleader. And the fifth one is smiling.
Right.
Is that optimistic attitude and just keeping that very positive spirit. So I was talking to somebody the other day and he asked me a similar question. He said, well, I don't have those things. I said, well, you have something else. You have an attribute that you've brought to everything that you've ever done in your life. And he thought about it for a minute and goes, oh, I don't know. Because he has kind of a negative predisposition.
Sure.
And I said, okay. And I named like 6 or 8 things that he's done. And each one, he sees the problem, the task at hand, and then he takes it apart completely. He analyzes it, he researches it. He has to do it like when he built a dollhouse for his daughter when he was younger. He didn't just build a dollhouse. He built a Williamsburg dollhouse. And it had to have the proper fenestration, which is the windows. It had to have the proper roof, the proper shingles, the proper paint, the proper everything. It couldn't just be a dollhouse.
Right.
And the reason why he does this is because he has these insecurity feelings. So what he wants to do is somehow prove to himself and everybody else that he can do it. I mean, he joined the Marines for the same reason. I said, you know what? Your attribute is that you are a conqueror. And he thought about it for a minute. I said, because you want to conquer a problem, be victorious over it, and prove to yourself and the world that I did it. And he was like, wow. Now it has a flip side, you know, because he's always having to prove himself.
Right.
But he said, wow, you really know how to spin something that I saw as a weakness into something
Positive.
And this is where it becomes so magical. Because when I'm in an interview situation, if somebody asks me, well, Ritzya, first of all, the resumes are equal. The qualifications, the experience, the letters after my name, the salary requirements, everything, let's say, is equal between me and Susie. But I come in and they say, Ritzya, tell me about a success story that you have. Or tell me about an obstacle that you've overcome. Or tell me about a challenging person that you've had to work with. Or, you know how they always ask those kinds of questions, right? I now have a structure with which to think of the stories that are illustrations of one of those attributes. Because they don't have in the job description that they want somebody who organizes everything, who shows up with excellence, who is going to be cheerful and upbeat and encourage people and smile. Those aren't in the job description. Those are the things that I add value, that I bring to the table. And I have stories about each of my reinventions or jobs that I've had in the past that I can go, oh, here's a story that I can tell about being successful and that standard of excellence. Here's a story that I can tell about bringing organization when I went to work for NRA and I completely revamped the office and redid all the papers and redid this and you know what happens when you do that? On a job, you set yourself apart. When you do it in an interview, you set yourself apart. And the whole point of going to an interview, they've already read your resume.
Right.
They already know what your qualifications are. They want to know who you are. So if you notice, these 5 attributes that I named for me are also, you could call them character qualities. You could call them even values. Because I value organization around me and order and efficiency. And the character trait is that I want to change it. I want to do it. The integrity is that everywhere I go, you're going to find those consistent traits. Mm-hmm. And if people can master this kind of storytelling when they're in an interview or selling a product or a service or even on a date, mm-hmm. can you imagine how much it would communicate about who a person is, far more than what they do.
Right, right. So at McLean Bible, mm-hmm. Were people able to come up with 5 attributes for themselves? Or?
We have a limited amount of time.
Okay.
So I was able to give my life as an example, and then I was able to give like a homework assignment.
Okay.
Which is to sit down with your past jobs and make a list of the things that you loved about your jobs. And what is it that you loved about them?
Okay.
And then the things that you hated about your jobs and how you overcame those by bringing to it, it could be a character quality of perseverance or whatever it might be, to work through that problem. So it's a process. All I did was give them the very beginning of that process.
Right.
Now, remember I told you about the bustier shop?
Yeah.
Okay. There were 2 things that happened, which is a real testimony to networking and not being afraid to just make a phone call or reaching out to somebody. I'm much better when it's on somebody else's behalf than on my own. Mm-hmm. I'm really horrible about that. Selling myself. Horrible, horrible. Oh, I just hit my fist. Horrible about that. But when I talked to Glenn, he said that he had a problem keeping good help at this lingerie shop, the bustier shop. And he said he would rather have somebody with the personality and the character than somebody who had a lot of experience doing that, because he could train them. But what happened was they hired people with experience, but they left. So I announced this job. This woman came running up to me afterwards. Oh, and it's in Adams Morgan.
Oh.
Okay, now McLean Bible is in Tyson's.
Right.
So the chances of this happening were total serendipity. All right.
Okay.
She runs up to me. She goes, "Ritzya, you won't believe it. I live in Adams Morgan." She says, "And I have retail background, and I have a design background, and a fashion background, and I would love to do this job, and I'm so perfect for this job. And my grandmother even had a double mastectomy, so I'm even familiar with..."
Wow.
Yeah. And she looked the part. Everything was like...
perfect.
The fact that I made the phone call to call Glenn and announced the job, and she was there, mm-hmm. It's like everything just kind of fits. And there was another woman that came up to me, because I had several jobs that I announced that night from another contact that I made, again, just to bring more value to my talk.
Yeah.
And it was for a loss mitigation specialist.
Okay.
Is there such a thing? I think
probably. It sounds like a lawyer's.
Yeah, it's another government contracting job that I announced. And this woman, when I first got there, I was sitting at some of the tables where they were doing some general introductions and orientation for newcomers, and this woman was literally in tears. She was so discouraged. She'd been looking for a job, all these things, and she just sat there weeping at this table with strangers.
Right.
She ran up to me afterwards. "Ritzya, that's my expertise, is loss mitigation specialist. I can't wait. You got to give me the information."
Wow.
That was 2 weeks ago this coming Tuesday. Mm-hmm. She had an interview with the CEO last Thursday.
Wow, good for her. That's great.
So, it's just a matter of you never know.
Yeah.
You never know where that encouragement is going to come from. Mm-hmm. And it's really special. Okay. Now, I do have one more. We talked about a lot. Was there anything else?
We're actually running limited on time, and I know you wanted to talk about the smiling. We have about 3 minutes.
Oh. All right. Well, first of all the pumping up that I did about smiling in the talk, there was a guy that came up to me afterwards, mm-hmm. and he goes, "Well, I don't know about this smiling thing. I don't like smiling. I'm serious." Well, the guy's looking for a job, and he's going to keep looking for a job.
Right.
Because he just like totally undid everything that I did.
Oh.
Yeah. But in terms of wrapping up, the fact that we smile when we talk about something we love, mm-hmm. if we can get in touch with those things, we would be so much better communicators. And I actually hold events where, speaking events where people can practice speaking, practice smiling, practice sharing about the things that they love, both on a kind of a limited scale and a deeper dive, kind of a mastermind model that I'm starting.
Right, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, just real quick, what does smiling do physically, emotionally, and mentally?
All right, so there is a chemical change that takes place when we smile. In our brain, the serotonin levels increase. It opens up synapses to receive information. It creates all of these changes in the emotions, and there's, if you want to do research on smiling, my goodness, there's TED Talks on smiling, there's videos on smiling, there's white papers on smiling, and it truly transforms your attitude from the inside out. And then when you smile at somebody else, what do you do when somebody smiles at you?
You smile back.
You
so
smile
that energy
back.
is like transformed.
Correct.
Yeah.
It really does. It changes the energy in the room. And particularly for a job interview,
It makes a big difference, I'm sure.
It makes a huge difference. If you're smiling and that interviewer feels that, you may just have your next job just because you smiled.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Laura.
For more information about Ritzya, you can go to, what's your website?
The best thing would be to email me.
Okay.
Ritzya, R-I-T-Z-Y-A. People leave out the Y.
Yeah.
R-I-T-Z-Y-A at thedramacoach.com.
Okay.
The website is www.thedramacoach.com.
And you also have a Facebook.
I have a Facebook page under Ritzya and the Speaker Salon. I have a LinkedIn profile under Unforgettable Ritzya.
Great.
So there's lots of ways to meet me, and those are going to be on the credits at the end.
Yes,
right?
Yes,
Perfect.
definitely.
So people can get in touch
thank you
with me.
again. And if you're just tuning in now, make sure you catch us on the web at www.potluck-online.org. And we will see you next time. All right. Thanks again.